Hi everybody, welcome to the Garage. I'm Jeremy Cordeaux. This is the court of public opinion for the next 20 minutes or so. I hope you enjoy it, and I'm looking forward to your company on Friday morning live streaming as well. 25 years this week since the 2000 Sydney Olympics. God, time flies. I have no idea where the time goes. Also, anniversary, 50 years since Papua New Guinea gained its independence from Australia. Well, independent in name only, of course. Some say it's a failed state, lives just about entirely on foreign aid, mostly from Australia. 800 different languages, crime rates, unemployment through the roof. And I think the only country which still practices, in admittedly remote areas, cannibalism. But strategically so important, we now have, thanks to Albo, a treaty and an integrated military. Wow. You saw them coming over the hill with a knife and a fork, you'd run, wouldn't you?
You'd end up in a pot.
You'd end up in a pot. I'll bet the Chinese are just shaking in their shoes. Anyway, more demonstrations around Australian cities and over 1 million protesters in London. I know the media sort of played it down. They talked about 10,000 or maybe 50,000. No. There were more than 1 million people in the Unite the Kingdom demonstrations, where Elon Musk said the government must go and go now. You can't wait 4 years. Get rid of Labour now or die. It's what he said. Doesn't mince his words. The media has tried to play it down, as I said. Immigration is a very hot topic. Italy, France, Spain, the same. Caused by African and Middle Eastern people fleeing oppression, poverty and violence. And who could blame them? But of course, unfortunately, bringing it all with them, you would think that they would leave their machetes at the door. But no. We the people fear death by 1,000 cuts unless something is done. Right-wing influencer Kirk, shot dead on a university campus for having what some lefty, one Tyler Robinson, thought was the wrong opinions. A university should be a place where ideas are discussed, contested and considered. To have freedom of speech, you first have to have freedom of thought. Socialism or left-wing politics and politicians, it's all very much a dogma. You don't question, you just believe. It's like climate change. You cannot argue with a closed, ignorant mind. Start to argue a different position, the left have no response other than violence. Not in every case, of course, but they'll try to ridicule you, close you down, or even, as we've just seen, try to kill you. I had not listened to, or indeed, to be totally honest, even heard of Kirk. But apparently he was a significant force. A much-loved podcaster with a huge young fan base. His influence extended right to the White House. Through his assassination, his voice will become a war cry. Much the same as George Floyd became Black Lives Matter. My question is, why do people have to die just because you don't agree with them, or somebody doesn't agree with them? As Voltaire said, I disagree with what you say, but I shall fight to the death for your right to say it. Wonderful, wonderful words to live by. I think, getting back home here, I think it's goodbye to Susan Lee. Jacinta Price is a star. The Libs really don't have many of those. I hope I live long enough to see Jacinta become Prime Minister of Australia. I think she will. The public like her. She resonates with the public. She is intuitive, smart. She comes over as honest and straightforward. She has presence. Presence. For Susan Lee to drop her is stupid. What she said about immigration and Aboriginal affairs is perfectly reasonable. You mightn't think she's right, but that's okay. In my opinion, she's right. There seems to be some confusion about Jacinta Price's comment that the federal government was bringing in a lot of Indian immigrants because they vote Labor. Now, I reported to you, it must be 2 weeks ago, maybe 3 weeks ago, Redbridge, the research company based in Melbourne, run by Cos Samaras, a former Labor Party official, reported that their survey of immigrants and their voting habits, trends, show that 85% of Indian migrants, vote Labor. Well, it's a democracy. They can vote for whoever they like. It might have been wishful thinking on the part of Cos, I don't know. But what Jacinta Price was commenting on is perfectly valid. If you want to be cynical, you'd say a political party may skew its immigration policy to suit its election chances. It shouldn't figure in the equation, however. We should choose migrants based on their skills, the numbers we need at the time, and their likelihood to fit in with the Australian community. Whether they vote Liberal or Labor or Greens or anything else shouldn't be part of it. And Jacinta didn't say anything different to that. Nothing to apologise for. But I think this is the end, or perhaps you might say, if you were kind, the beginning of the end of Susan Lee as the Liberal leader. Listen, the immigration policy should be a common sense demonstration of the government's philosophy. Overwhelmingly, what is in the best interests of Australia? Everything should be viewed through that prism. Each case on its merits. Applicants must speak English, fit into our culture, embrace our way of life. We are the gatekeepers. It's our responsibility to protect what generations have worked for and died for. Forget multiculturalism. This is Australia. You can't come here and set up little satellite countries and think that's okay. And we shouldn't tolerate a government that thinks that is okay. Let me make a couple of observations here. Do you remember when the coup took place in Fiji? And there were several, by the way. Do you remember why? Well, firstly, I observe that there were no consequences or condemnation for the military to step in and kick out the elected Indian Prime Minister. A guy by the name of, if I've got it right and I remember it correctly, Mahendra Chaudhry. I'm pretty sure. Mahendra Chaudhry. Kicked out purely on the basis of his race. He was an Indian. And the Fijians were starting to worry about losing their country to the Indian minority. So they took it back and put in its place a strong man, a military man, a Fijian by the name of Lieutenant Colonel Sitiveni Rabuka. Again, I say no condemnation. Does anyone remember Tunku Abdul Rahman? Does that name ring a bell anywhere? He was the Malaysian Prime Minister. Also a very strong man, father of the independent modern nation of Malaysia. Took the country to independence. He could see that the native Malay people were slowly losing their country to the Chinese. So he put in place a policy, clearly racist, which made sure the Chinese simply couldn't do it. Everything was made to favour the Malay. Well, why not? It was their country. I don't remember anyone saying discrimination. Tunku Abdul Rahman remains to this day a celebrated patriot of his country. Something else I find interesting. If you go to India, you'll find a very rigid society. I speak of the caste system. Don't get much more rigid than that. If you're born to a certain caste or class, you are locked in for better or worse. It's very rare to find somebody from a lower class being able to move from that circumstance. Imagine being given the name untouchable. You are an untouchable. That's the lowest caste. Now, I've never heard anyone, no word of criticism about this open discrimination, abuse of human rights and blatant classism. Can you imagine if that sort of thing happened in Australia? The United Nations would be all over us. The caste system is at least 3,000 years old, and it's still going strong, ladies and gentlemen. Do Indians bring the caste system with them when they migrate? I don't know. Maybe you could tell me. 0491 65 68 60 on Friday morning. Live streaming around the dining room table, jeremycordeaux.com. Now, I condemn all kinds of prejudice and racism. Everyone should be treated exactly the same. We seem to be, in this country, remarkably tolerant in some directions and intolerant in others. My favourite word is why. Why? I think woke figures in there somewhere. The inquiry announced on Friday into Islamophobia was very interesting. What's that? I asked myself. Islamophobia. Anyway, it was a big inquiry and we paid for it, lots. Can you imagine an inquiry into Christianophobia taking place in Pakistan, Iran, Iraq, Bangladesh, Saudi Arabia, Afghanistan, Syria, Kuwait, Jordan, Egypt, Turkey? Can you? Can you imagine that? Christians are simply the infidel. That's it. No inquiry necessary, no argument. This inquiry of ours into Islamophobia, did it extend to underage and forced marriage? Industrialized discrimination against women? Female genital mutilation? FGM? These things are certainly worth talking about, but were they? They definitely define what seems to occur in Islam. Why didn't this expensive inquiry look at such illegal, antisocial, and prejudicial practices, which sail along under the guise of it's cultural? Try that in Saudi Arabia. See how far that gets you. McCrindle Research. That's very good company, McCrindle. They say more and more Gen Z, or Z, are taking what they've described as micro or mini retirements. I don't think I've ever retired, actually, but anyway, lots of them. You'd think to yourself, what, no focus? No stickability? No determination? As I was growing up, I was always told that if you change jobs too many times, you're going to look unreliable, flighty. But these days, according to McCrindle, young people will do something for a while, get bored, take a break, do something else, and do this over and over again. 20 times, 20 retirements is not unusual. What do you think? Tell me Friday. 0491 65 68 60. jeremycordeaux.com, 9 to 12. Special guests, by the way, on Friday. Michelle McCall renowned psychotherapist. We'll find out what a psychotherapist does. I'm not exactly sure. Maybe we all need one. Maybe we do. That's where you get it on the NDIS. Professor John Crompton, AM, a long-time associate of the Adelaide Children's Hospital, and famous Adelaide journalist Robbie Brecken will join us as well. If I've got a second, Pete. The boss, Nuno Matos, recently appointed the CEO of the ANZ Bank, announced that there will be mass sackings. Speaking of micro-retirements, mass sackings, 4,500 employees. Now, the ANZ is the smallest of the big four banks. He says it's going to cost the bank some $560 million to restructure. He says it's all about simplifying the business. I guess people do complicate things a bit. What is the problem they're trying to fix, I wonder? $3.6 billion profit for the last 6 months. The biggest problem with banks, in my mind, is service. I mean, I'm lucky. I'm with the Commonwealth. They look after me. They're fine. They're wonderful. Service, which must be because there aren't enough people if you're not getting enough service. We, the people, want to go into a bank, a physical bank, and be served by someone. Helpful, caring, polite, accommodating. We are customers. Is this move by the ANZ Bank a move towards AI? As a kid, I was told, my mother told me, and I always listened to my mother, a job with the bank meant you were secure. Secure for life. Well, I'm kind of glad I didn't take that advice. On 3AW, a woman rang Tom Elliott, who does the morning program, to say that after 30 years, she woke up on Tuesday morning, last week, to a text message to be told by the bank that she'd been sacked. Now, this is shocking. No company should be dumb and uncaring enough to do something like that. PR, image, reputation, that's everything. Everything. And actually, staff is everything. I always regarded my staff at 5AD and 5DN as being the most important asset we had. Staff is everything. This sort of behaviour is going to cost them more than $560 million. And now I see yesterday announced the ANZ face a record penalty of $240 million fine for widespread misconduct involving customers and government. The bank has agreed to pay. Guilty, Your Honour. The fear or the rumour is that AI will take many jobs in banking and finance. The ANZ said, no, it's not AI. Well, AI mightn't take your job. But I can tell you this, AI is in there somewhere, and we can't stop it. We're here with the best wishes of the rising sun, ladies and gentlemen, 60 Bridge Street, Kensington. Grant and Jackie, you can call them. Well, they've got a nice staff. Staff are really good in a restaurant. A restaurant has to have good staff as well as radio stations and banks. Give them a call on 8333 0721. And they will look after you. The Rising Sun, regularly chosen as the best pub or inn in South Australia, there since 1845 with lots of history and atmosphere, and Elder Fine Art Gallery in Melbourne Street, North Adelaide, with another big auction coming up in about 8 weeks. About 8 weeks. Helen or Jim, give them a call on 8267 2869 if you have a painting that you'd like to get valued. A free appraisal is yours, at the other end of which could be, I don't know, hundreds of thousands of dollars. I've got no idea about the painting, but they sell to the world. And they might just be able to help you. Give them a call. And don't forget, call us on Friday, 0491 65 68 60. You can get that little app, which is called Simple Radio, if you have any trouble on your podcast, or not your podcast. What do they call that thing? A laptop? Whatever it is, I like it in the palm of my hand. It's on the radio. It's called Simple Radio, and you can listen to me anywhere using that app. thanks very much for being with us. We'll see you on Thursday morning. I'll give you a couple of dates before I go. Happy birthday, by the way, if you're having a birthday. It is the 16th of September. Yes. Spring has sprung. Well, mostly. A study puts a price on the value of thoughts and prayers. See, I like that. Average Christian is willing to pay US $4 a prayer. Wow. Average atheists would pay $3 not to receive one. Somebody prays for you, why would you knock it back? I find that amazing. Published in the Proceedings of the National Academy of Science. I'll guarantee you there's more than one or two atheists in that crowd. 1888. W.O. Bentley, English engineer and motoring pioneer who founded Bentley Motors Limited, born London, died 1971, but born this day in 1888. British singer Davy Jones changes his stage name to David Bowie to avoid confusion with the monkey with the same surname. That was this day in 1965. Carriage maker William C. Durant founds General Motors in Flint, Michigan on this day in 1908. Now, the same day, but the year was 2019, 50,000 workers at General Motors go on strike in the US over pay and factory closings. Mary Travis, American folk singer Peter, Paul and Mary puffed the magic dragon, leaving on a jet plane. Dies of leukemia at 72 on this day in 2009. The Luftwaffe attacks London for the first time in 1940. And one more. Golf's first recorded hole-in-one scored by Tom Morris of Prestwick's 8th hole in Scotland. 1869. The very first, imagine having that against your name. The very first hole-in-one. Have a wonderful week, and I'll see you Thursday morning at 9 o'clock with another posting here on Facebook and the live streaming show on Friday. Believe in yourself. Thank you for viewing the Court of Public Opinion. I'm Jeremy Cordeaux. Goodbye for now.